In this video, I'm going to cover stage 5 and 6, probably 7 of posterior cortical atrophy, which is PCA dementia. It is a rare form of dementia, and so I've already done 2 videos. One was stage 1, 2, and 3, so grab that one if you haven't watched it. And I did stage 4 last week, so watch those if you haven't. Otherwise, let's get into it. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what they say about this, the medical people, and then I'm going to tell you real life situations that happened that will help you maybe relate to some of this. Before I get into that, the reason I know all of this is because we track everything that happens. We've been doing that for a few years now, so we have created a template that you can use as well. You can get it at disruptdementia.com. It's free. Download it and you can start using it as well. It's great to know where you are and super helpful when you go see the doctor because you can tell them exactly what's been happening since the last time you've seen them, including how many falls have they had, anything that's changed, all that good stuff. I definitely grab that. Also, of course, like, comment, subscribe. All of that really helps us reach more people and help more amazing humans like you. And definitely, as I'm going through, if any of this is relatable, comment, let us know. We want to hear about it. Stage 5. So this is where we are getting more into that severe cognitive issues. So again, this is much more surrounding PCA, but at this time too, some regular Alzheimer's, dementias, frontal lobe, the Lewy body, it all starts to blend a little bit more as these stages progress. And even over for us, we did see some veins of other types of dementia just as you go, because that is what tends to happen. So even though the most obvious thing is PCA, posterior cortical atrophy, we would sometimes see things that were related to Lewy body, a little bit of frontal lobe, right? So you'd start to see some things, Alzheimer's, right? Different things. And if you are confused about whether Alzheimer's and dementia, we have a video about that. By all means, go and watch it because Alzheimer's is dementia, but dementia is not Alzheimer's. Okay. Vision. So in stage 5, we've got vision deteriorates further to the extent that the world is viewed as an individual pieces of a puzzle. So it's almost like a fractured mirror, right? Or a window. So occasional small details can be noticed, but difficulty understanding the entire scene. So if you looked at a picture, you could say, this is an artist rendering of a woman. She's reading a book in a library. It looks like a cottage, right? You could understand sort of what's happening in this image. She may only see the book, right? Not even see that a person is holding that book. Okay. Where am I? So also things like, require help for everyday tasks, including toileting and personal care. Again, all of these stages do start to blend. So in earlier stages, you'll see some of this stuff. It just might be less or not as much or not as far. But now we're seeing it. All of these things are much more every day, the full thing. Before it might have been, I might have only helped her get the shower water on. Now it is fully helping her in the shower. We are in our assisted living facility in a retirement home at this point, and we do have PSW care hours. So someone would come in every single morning and give her a shower. So that happened every day. So again, requiring help with most tasks at this point, toileting, personal care, buttoning things up, zippers, positioning their body in relation to furniture, being able to understand if something's on right or crooked or anything, like just not understanding any of that stuff. Experience spatial problems, not just vision, but even this is where some of these strange things with PCA come into play. I mean, this already was. I didn't mention a lot of that stuff because they didn't talk about it in the stages, but there's a lot of not understanding instructions. I mentioned the recipes in the previous video, but this is also where things happen where if I said, turn around, she might step closer to me. And I'd be like, no, you've got to turn your body. And she also would get very rigid. So trying to turn her, you'd be like, no, turn. And everything's rigid. If I would say to her, here, put your arm down, she would almost like push back on me. And I'd be like, okay, no, relax your arm. You just want to just put your arm down. So this is just when her brain doesn't understand how to move her body. There was a time when she was still at home, so this would have been in stage 4, and I've showed this video in another video, but basically my sister was saying when you take a selfie and you want to do it this way, you're going to hold your phone like this so that you can still hit the button, right? Like, trying to explain that to her, near impossible. Getting her to do that, literally impossible to do, because her brain wouldn't stop understanding how things worked. So turn around, right? Difficult to comprehend and execute. Requires support and or supervision when walking because there might be difficulty understanding where the pavement ended, or there was a curb or a crack in the ground, or that the path is here and on the side is grass, and you don't want to be walking on the grass. You want to be staying on the path. If there's steps, all of this is very difficult. So also shuffling starts to happen, not just because they're scared of what's happening, but also just because their brain stops allowing them to walk properly. So they might stoop or lean as well. That starts to happen. So this also shows up in Lewy body. At this stage, many individuals are registered as blind, meaning they require visual support. But it's not blind in the way that you understand what you would think of, because you can't really help somebody who can't use their vision in the way that this works. When someone is blind, they may still be able to understand things. These are my glasses. I can feel them. I know that these are glasses. That's not the same for someone with PCA dementia, for posterior cortical atrophy. You could hand them glasses and they may say, is this my phone? Right? They don't know necessarily what it is. So it's different because the brain, these two things, the connection here is fractured. These two things no longer talk. They are no longer friends. So there may be, again, we're really having difficulty with words at this point. Words are becoming very difficult, using the wrong words, putting sentences together, remember what they're even talking about. All of that starts to happen. Situational, like awareness of their situation. Some still might know something's wrong. Like mom would still say, there's something wrong with my brain. My brain's not working. But she didn't have the full depth of that understanding anymore, but she knew that it wasn't working properly. Even still today, she'll sometimes make a comment like that. So they might also have sensing the relative position of their body parts. So like not knowing what's the right side up. How do you sit properly? How do you, if I said, put your hand out, she might not even put her hand out. Like she might put her elbow out. You don't know. Sensing the relative, I just said that. Headache, increasing sensitivity or pain sensations in the scalp or body parts. People with PCA may become more sensitive to the cold and may be prone to experience cold hands and feet. I don't really feel like we ever had any of that necessarily, but I definitely find that she's always cold now, but not really here, I don't feel like. Sense of hearing may change. People with PCA may become more sensitive to certain sounds. I definitely noticed this. I actually noticed this in stage 4 as well. She couldn't understand when something was happening that was unusual. A neighbor was blasting music on their backyard, and she was like freaking out and didn't understand how to shut this off and what was happening. Just because she couldn't comprehend what this was. Feelings of imbalance or instability, particularly when walking, jerky movements in the fingers, arms, or other parts of the body. I don't know that I noticed that so much either. But so now I'm going to talk to you about some of the things we actually saw related to this stage of PCA dementia. So she would have a lot of difficulty. And again, this bleeds over. Stage 4, we were having a lot of this. So some of this is just getting more pronounced, more obvious, really struggling to navigate the spaces that she was in and understand, like I said, turning around or opening the door and going, go out the door. No, like I've got to like take her hands, be like, come on, we're walking out the door. She would hold up her own hand. We'd be in the car. I would take her for ice cream.
I'm not looking at it anymore.
Okay.
Because I have 3 fingers.
How many fingers do you want to have?
Well, I thought I was going to have 5. But
You do have 5.
Oh, well, I counted wrong.
You did. See, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right?
Yeah.
That's how many fingers you have. 5.
I thought I had 7.
Jesus Christ. What is happening? Oh boy. Oh boy. Well,
I'm glad I'm only 5.
yeah, 5 is a good number. I also have 5.
Oh, that's good.
It's a good amount to have.
Yeah, it is.
You don't need more than that. 5 fingers. Like, what are you going to do with 7 fingers?
Give one to somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. That could be your Christmas gift. She didn't started just not understanding that these were hands and what they were for, why they were there. She would get really rigid. Like I mentioned, she would get really rigid. So putting her shoe on, for example, like if I would, she'd be sitting down and I'd like want to lift her leg so that I could put her foot into the shoe, and lifting her leg, like she would like fight you. And she didn't even know she was doing it. It's just like, but like she would like fight you. So I'd be like, Mom, loosen up. Let me just lift your leg. And so I finally would get it. And then she'd like be rigid with her foot. So I'd have to like end up picking the shoe up so I could start it. And then still at that point, sometimes muscle memory, and even today, muscle memory still kicks in for that. She knows to push down on her heel to get that shoe on. So also get the Skechers. You definitely need them. You need them in stage 3, maybe before that if you realize. Those Skechers that they just, like they just go on. You don't have to touch them with your hands. You can just do it with your feet. Amazing. Super helpful. She would get into the bed wrong. So this is how you get into a bed. And what we were finding was that this is how she would get into the bed. So the wrong way, didn't know that it was wrong. Just, even though her legs would be hanging off, like just didn't know that was wrong. Her hallucinations were still happening, but they had changed at this point. They were a little bit different. Now she was like seeing me as a child. Like at one point she climbed up into her chair and was saying, it's okay, and was like hugging nothing. Like, because she was like, Amanda, it's okay. I was crying apparently. And that's what she, would see. She also would like walk to the corner of the room and say like, and talk to the wall, like say like, why are you mad at me? Really weird things like that. And it was unsettling, but less of those very scary things were happening. Much more of these sort of odd things like that. And also hallucinations were happening much more during the day as well at this point. So, she went into her bathroom. She said, well, there's people in the bathroom. I can't go in there. And so I went in and I said, do you see them? And she said, yeah, lots of them. And so I said, get out of here. We need to use the bathroom. And I said, did they listen? She goes, nope. And she just walked away. So she wasn't scared of them anymore. There was less of that kind of thing happening, but it was just like hallucinations a lot. She would also forget at this point, like who her children were. So she'd say, you know, like she'd say, who are the two girls? And I'd say, like, who are your daughters? Like, who am I? And she'd say, you. And she actually went, no name, like said that. And I said, you don't know my name. And she said, no, tell me your name. And I said, well, how do you know me? And she said, I just know you. You're part of my life. And I thought, well, at least she knows that even though she may not know who I am, she knows that I'm somebody and that she's safe with me. And I always thought as long as she knew she was safe with me, then I can manage this. Things have changed and she is not always safe with me anymore. And that is really difficult. She would say that she went for a walk and she saw my Aunt Fran, but my Aunt Fran lived 25 minutes away. So, and also I just know that wasn't true. You didn't go for a walk. You don't even know how to get out of here. Like, there's no way this is true. She didn't even know that when she was in her apartment, in her assisted living, that she was in her apartment. Like, she didn't understand any of this. She would put on strange clothes at this point. My uncle came to see her one time and she didn't have pants on. And he was a little uncomfortable. And so he left to go and get help because he knew this is not good. And it's like she realized something was wrong, but she didn't know how to fix it and what was wrong. So she ended up getting a towel and was just like had put a towel around herself. Like, so she knew something was wrong, but she just didn't know how to solve this problem. And so he got a PSW to come in and she was lovely and tried to help mom. And mom got very annoyed because she, at this point, and I'm not sure anymore if she does because it's hard to understand what's happening anymore. But for a while, my sister does a really great video on this. I can't remember what the word is, but agnostasiosis or something like that, whatever. There's a great video that Pam does that talks about this. But basically, she still thought that she could do things. She thought that she could do everything herself. And so she didn't understand why you were helping her. I know that. I've got this. It's fine. Even one time, she took the TV was on and she didn't want it on. And because she didn't understand how anything worked anymore, she picked the TV up and put it on the floor facing down. And then one of the PSWs came in and said, oh my God, your TV's on the ground. And mom was like, yeah, I don't know. And she was like, well, did you put it on the ground? And mom was like, no, like, of course I didn't do that. But like she did. And it's crazy, but yeah. So while she was walking, one time we were at Pam's, it was like, I can't remember if it was Mother's Day or whatever. And we had made like a cheese and cracker tray and mom needs to go to the bathroom. So Pam was like, okay, come with me, go to the bathroom. It's like her limbs it's like an octopus. Like octopus have a life of their own. Like have their own brains in their limbs. And it was kind of like that because she walked by the cheese and cracker tray and this arm went out behind her and grabbed a cracker. And like, she didn't even know that she did it. Like, it was just crazy. It was such an odd thing, right? Like just, it just had a life of its own there. So these are just some of the things that happened in stage 5 that were related to some of the stuff they said. Now, a lot of other things happened, but I was trying to stay within the stage there. Now we're going to go into stage 6. Any of this is relatable, please comment. Comment, subscribe. Of course, we want to be able to help as many people as we can that are going through this. Don't forget to grab the tracker. That is at disruptdementia.com. That's how I know everything that I'm telling you, because of that tracker. That's it, guys. And like I said, please subscribe, comment. Definitely let us know if any of this is relatable and what your journey's like.